What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Brian Kostiw, and today I've got an amazing episode in store for you guys. As you know, if you've listened to this show before, I love to talk with athletes from multiple backgrounds, and today I am diving back into college basketball for the first time in quite a while. So I'm excited to get back into that. Joining me on the show today is a player who's made his mark in Smithfield this past season. He's also a fellow podcaster. He actually just started the Collective Mindset podcast. I was lucky enough to be a guest on the first episode, so I'm really excited to have him on today. He has got a great story. We'll talk about his journey and some, future goals for the Bulldogs coming up this season. Hailing from Fairfax, Virginia, please welcome to the show, Miles Latimer. Miles, welcome aboard. I'm glad to have you.
Man, thank you for having me on. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. So, I mentioned you have your own podcast now, the Collective Mindset podcast. Tell me a little bit about like what your goals are for that podcast. Like tell me a little bit about it.
Honestly, me being an athlete,
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been around athletes.
Mhm.
Like I've always been closest with my teammates and stuff.
Sure.
And my teammates have always had like some of the like most interesting things to say and like most interesting like outlooks and perspectives on life. But for some reason, like a lot of them don't feel very comfortable about like speaking up like about it in like in like a group setting. So I feel like someone like me that comes from multiple backgrounds can kind of give those people like a way easier way to like kind of talk about those things.
Absolutely.
So like on my podcast, I just like I want to have things just be a conversation. Like I don't want it to be like too formal. Like I'll have obviously a couple of talking points and stuff like ready to go, but I don't have anything like set questions I want to ask and all that. I want to just have a conversation and whatever comes to my mind during that time comes to my mind. I want it to be really like genuine and like authentic.
Yeah, for sure. I know that you actually appeared on a podcast as a part of a class that Bryant does with Professor Mike Montecalvo.
Mhm.
So was your interest kind of just sparked from there? Did you have this interest beforehand, or was it like this class that made you say, you know what, I need to start a show?
So I did it in here in Koffler.
Yeah.
I had no idea that Koffler had all of the equipment and stuff
Mhm.
available. Cause like for me, I was like, yeah, like
It'd be fun to do, but like
yeah.
it's gonna take so much.
Yeah, like I'm thinking like because I didn't like I was just like gonna record our audio on something like I'm like
Yeah.
it would have taken me a couple like after hearing it back to be like, all right, I need to get a real mic and like real software and stuff.
Mhm.
But after seeing it in here, I was like, man, like everything that I could possibly need is already in here. And
Yeah.
like and then so that's when I talked to MG, like because he and I were talking about doing the podcast together. And so I texted him. Oh God, my ears itching. I texted him. I said, "Yo, I just did a podcast in Koffler. Like, they have everything that we need.
Mhm.
So like, just ask if they have like open and available times and stuff." And then, so that's when we got into contact with you, and then that was when we had you in the room, and then so yeah.
Yeah, we had a good talk. Have you put out the first episode yet, or is it? Are you guys still working on editing it?
I think MG's finished editing it, but we're gonna
Okay.
shoot the next one first, and then release the first one. So then like we kind of get on like a schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that you had, talked about potentially getting some future guests for the show. You want to headline any of that?
I was trying to get Antoine
Mhm.
Walker on, but he couldn't do the day that we said. So then
Sure.
For next week, I'm still debating about who I want to put on. But
Absolutely.
I'm really trying to get Twan because he's kind of similar to me to where he transferred three times, but
Mhm.
his journey's a lot different than mine. But we come from a similar place. So
Yeah.
it was just like it would be interesting to get his perspective on his college experience like compared to mine.
Yeah. So let's. You mentioned your journey. Let's talk about that. So, take me back. I mean, you're playing Division I basketball now. You've transferred to now your third school. Before all of this, before the success, before everything that you've had, take me back. Where did this love for the game of basketball first start?
There's a story my mom told me.
Okay.
She tells me a whole bunch. So I was a toddler still, like I
Yeah.
could barely stand. My dad played in just like some like rec league game with like a whole bunch of like people his own age.
Sure.
And they had just taken me, and my mom says that like ever like when I was a toddler, I was standing up the whole time, just like my head was going back and forth, just watching like the ball the whole time. So like she was saying how I just like looked like I loved basketball from like the jump.
Mhm.
And there's so many baby pictures of me with like a basketball in my hands and stuff like that. So I always remember like always just having a basketball. And then like when I got to around like age 4, age 5 was when I started to like really like start to shoot. Like
Mhm.
I had like those mini hoops
Oh
and stuff
yeah.
like that. I used to shoot on that like constantly every day. I was always dribbling. And then so my parents were like, all right, let's have you play against like some kids. And then
Yeah.
they found out that I was actually pretty good like when I was 5. So I started playing against like older kids. Like I was playing against like 8, 7 year olds when I was like 5.
Wow.
I always played against older people, like older kids up until I was like probably 13ish. I always played with older kids. And then that was when I finally played my own age group for the first time, like starting in middle school.
Yeah. How do you think that kind of helped your development as kind of as an athlete, like, playing against that
Yeah.
older competition,
Yeah. Honestly, it wasn't too different, like, because that was before any of us really went through puberty.
Okay.
Like when I was like 10, 11, 12, like if you're good, you're good, kind of. So then once like around 12, 13 years old comes in, I hadn't gone through puberty. Like I was like a late bloomer. So
Sure.
like you could tell that like I was just smaller than everybody, but that 1 year of me being smaller than everyone else, like actually really did help because the point guard we had on like my AAU team at the time, he left for another team. So then it forced me to be like the ball handler. So then I started playing against older kids, but having to bring the ball up the court and like give good passes and like run an offense.
Yeah.
So it prepared me well for like my next steps. So then rest of middle school, I played my own age group and then I started really cooking. And then once I got to high school, I went to Paul VI Catholic.
Okay.
So I'd always gone to public school, and I'd always played against kids that were all in public school and stuff. Actually, one kid that I played against a lot in middle school is Jordan Miller.
Okay. Oh wow, from Alabama.
From
Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of the wrong kid. Brandon, that's what I was thinking
of. From Miami.
Oh yes.
He had like
I was thinking of Brandon Miller from Alabama for a second.
No, it's all right.
I was like, yo.
No, Jordan Miller.
That's still great though.
Yeah, he went to Miami this past year, and he had like a really good season. And like, when they went to the Final Four, he was like a main person on that team. He's been someone I was playing against in like our same little like public school league in our county.
Yeah.
But then went to Catholic school for high school because PVI is a really good basketball program.
Sure.
And then so it was kind of a shock because again, I was a late bloomer. So my first day of college, my first day of high school, I was probably 6 foot, 127 pounds. Like I was
you were just a stick.
I was as thin as this right here. Like,
oh my god.
So like I remember I don't even think I could bench 95 pounds my first day of high school. Like, that's just like how small I was. So playing against a whole bunch of bigger people, you're kind of just kind of like shell shocked a little bit. You're kind of like afraid to just mess up.
Yeah.
But so I played JV for like a majority of the year, but the varsity head coach like brought me there to play with him eventually. So like I was practicing with varsity like throughout the season.
Okay.
Towards the end of the season, I played with varsity.
Nice. Yeah. So then, I mean, like, once you got to high school, I mean, you said, you said you were like, kind of like, 130 pounds soaking wet. Who kind of helped you, like, it maybe influenced you, through your high school years and really kind of, got you to the point you're at now, like, putting on weight, improving your game? Who were some of those individuals that kind of really influenced your?
Honestly, it was every coach that I've had. Every coach that I've had is like kind of like brought different challenges out of me and like made me do different things. Because during that time in high school, my high school team was always really good.
Yeah.
Like the conference that we played in, the WCAC, there was always like the the top 4 teams were always in the top 25, like
Wow.
in the country. So like
Jesus.
us, DeMatha, Gonzaga, and like St. John's were
Wow.
always like 4 teams that were in the top 25, or like we were always played in like ranked like tournaments and stuff. Um,
That's crazy, man. I mean,
yeah,
like just that level of competition has just got to be like insane.
yeah. I
Like
mean,
like having to go up against that every I mean, it definitely probably helped improve your game because you have to like it's at that point you're just like trying to survive out there.
no, like, and it's you have to, but it also forces you to only get better
Yeah.
because everyone's so good around you. It forces you to like push yourself every day, but then also,
Because you see those guys pushing themselves as
yeah,
well.
yeah, not only them pushing themselves, but then days that where like on my high school team, I played with 3 McDonald's All-Americans,
Wow.
and there were 2 5 stars at like one time on my team. So like playing against them every day in practice only gives you more confidence because like these are the guys that like are nationally recognized and I'm competing with them. So it's
Mhm.
like how good can I be?
Yeah.
So it's definitely it's like it's crazy to think about it going back. When I was going through it, I didn't really think about it at all just because I knew I wanted to play basketball at the highest level. So I was kind of just like, this is just the steps I need to take to get to where I need to go.
Mhm. So, I mean, you talk about like, I mean, you had great experiences in being able to play against those like, tremendously talented players. But I wonder for you, when was it that you realized, hey, I'm pretty good at this basketball thing. I might be able to, take my talents to the next level. Like not just like play here in high school and like be really good, but actually be an impact player at the Division 1 level. When did you kind of have that, epiphany?
It was never really an epiphany. Like
Yeah, not an
I
epiphany, but when
no,
did
like
yeah.
I always believed it. Like
Yeah.
I never there was never a doubt in my head that I was gonna play that like I was not gonna play college basketball.
Yeah.
Like there was literally no doubt in my head. Even like when I was like freshman year, I'm seeing like all these people get offers and stuff. I'm like, it's fine. Like I'm gonna
Time's
get
gonna
yeah,
come.
yeah, like my time's gonna come. Like and like I remember I remember my sophomore year, my dad started to get stressed about like offers and stuff because he had seen all all these other kids that I'm playing with like get offers from all these big time schools or just schools in general. And like I told him, I said, hey, all I need is one.
Mhm.
Like I just said, like, all I need is one. And he was like, you're right. And by the end of my junior year, I think I had like over 15
Wow.
offers. Yeah. So it's just like I it's really just belief, honestly. Like if you really believe that you're
Mhm.
gonna do something and you don't have like a backup plan, I mean you have to go all in into like option A.
Mhm.
And like for me, that was just kind of just what it was. So like when I started getting college offers, like it was just like it didn't surprise me at all. It was just like it was just the next step.
Mhm.
Um where I honestly had my biggest epiphany in terms of how good I was in basketball was like recently, like the
Yeah.
last couple of years.
Okay. So I
Like
know yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
uh, what really kind of set it off was over COVID,
Mhm.
because there wasn't much access to gyms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, I was getting invited to like private workouts to work out with pros and stuff.
Wow.
And one pro that I was playing with a lot was um Admiral Schofield.
Okay.
Went to Tennessee with Grant Williams that's on the
Okay. Wow.
Celtics. So it was like him and Grant Williams were like the 2 best players
Yeah.
on that team. He played with the Wizards for a little bit. He was put onto their G League team, and he's just like a big body guard.
Sure.
And I was playing against him, and I was competing,
Yeah.
and like I was playing really well, and he was telling me like I tried to get to my spot for like a little left-handed pull-up.
Mhm.
And he was saying how like when you get to your spot, like I'm not gonna block it. Like if you just if you shoot it at your own pace, like I'm not gonna block it. And like that's how you're gonna be way more efficient. He was like, you don't need to speed up your game at all. And I'm like, Admiral Schofield's like one of the like best defenders that was in college basketball like the
Yeah.
last 2 years. And he's out here guarding league people and he's telling me that I don't need to like rush my game at all, and like I can get to my
When
spots.
all you've been told is like, hey, the game speeds up, the game
Yeah, the
speeds
game
up.
speeds up, the game speeds up, and all of this. And like I hadn't played against that many NBA players, just like especially people that were already pros.
Yeah.
I've always played against high school players back in high school, and now they're pros and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So I now really playing against pros, and they're telling me this stuff. I'm like, damn, like I really can hoop.
Yeah.
I can really do this. Like,
Yeah. No, so that's awesome. I mean, you got your first offer then, and then you were able to go to Stony Brook. I know that you ended up transferring out and going to Bucknell. Eventually you did find your way to Bryant. You want to do you want to kind of talk about like, why you decided to, depart from those schools?
yeah. So from Stony Brook, the coach that recruited me my freshman year,
Yeah.
he left after like he left at the end of my freshman year.
Sure.
So then the head assistant became the head coach for my
Okay.
sophomore year.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like and similar similar staff, like there's gonna be like 3 people that stayed on staff, and then
Mhm.
there's just a couple new people added.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and then all of our teams stayed. Like we had one senior, and then we had one junior that transferred. And
Okay.
so that was another thing. We were really young too.
Yeah.
We were one of like 6 Division I teams that didn't have a senior.
Wow.
My sophomore year at Stony Brook. All of us were juniors, seniors, and freshmen.
Jeez.
So we were really young. And I just had a really good freshman year. Like I averaged like 10.7 points a game
Yeah.
my freshman year. And then so
in
I'm
the
thinking
America East,
yeah.
really good conference. Like you're competing there.
Mhm.
And yeah, like just tell me, like, what were some like lessons and maybe like, just tell me how that experience from high school to college kind of changed. Like what was the biggest change that you had to adjust to? They talk about the speed, which apparently like you're fine with, but what was the biggest challenge that you probably had to face in that time?
I just, it sounds crazy.
Sure.
It sounds crazy, but because my high school is so
It
competitive,
just felt like you were
it
already playing
it
D1.
it literally felt like I was just already been doing it. Like I remember after the first like real practice, the coach that like so the assistant coach
Yeah.
that recruited me from Stony Brook, he texted my parents like they like you better thank Glenn Farello, which was my high school coach.
Yeah.
You better thank Glenn Farello for everything he's done for Miles, because like he already knows all of the defensive slides for man to man and
Wow.
zone. Like he already know he can run an offense. He like knows plays and all this stuff. Just because like once you get to this level of basketball, like that's literally all it is. It's
Yeah.
just like you just being coachable, like knowing how to like move in like throughout the game and stuff. So honestly, when I got to Stony Brook, I just had so much confidence in myself that I was like, this is just what I can do.
Mhm.
And like the main reason why I chose Stony Brook was because I wanted to go to a lower level.
Yeah.
Like so I committed early. But if I didn't commit to Stony Brook early, I definitely would have gotten like high major offers and stuff
Mhm.
like that. But so like why I went to Stony Brook was because I knew that I was gonna have the ability to just go in and score and just like play my game.
Yeah.
And then so like that's just like all I believed in myself. So then also having a coach that like believed in me, and
Yeah.
so being a freshman at the time too.
You're not just going to be a number on the a number on the stat sheet. Like you are going to matter, and like you were going to
Yes.
and know immediately you're going to be an impact player on that team.
Yeah, and even throughout the whole summer, there was no question in my mind that I was going to start. That I was one of the best people on the team. Like,
Mhm.
I don't even know what it was. Like, I was like, this is just what I'm here to do.
Sure.
And then had a great freshman year, but then my sophomore year, once the assistant coach became the head coach, he started putting me in like different positions, and I just didn't have the ball in my hands as much.
Mhm.
So then everything that I had kind of been working on for the last like 2 years or so didn't really, it would not that it didn't matter. It was like, that's not what I was using on like an everyday basis. So I had left PVI being kind of like a role player, like being
Yeah.
kind of like a 3-and-D. Like I would guard the other team's best player and like
Yeah.
and like kind of focus on just shooting threes for spacing.
Yeah.
But then when I got to Stony Brook for my freshman year, like plays were being run for me. I could score, like I could just attack, I could score.
And you felt like you were really being utilized.
Yeah, and they also gave me a really big leash. Like I can remember so many games I had like a horrible first half, but they still let me in. They still let me play, and I'd still ended up with like 16 points just because the second half I'd play well.
Yeah.
Just because I had a super long leash. But sophomore year, just different situations in terms of playing. Um, so then my minutes started just getting like messed with because I started being less productive and less efficient because I was just playing a game that I don't know, I didn't feel super comfortable with.
Didn't feel like your style.
Yeah, just like perfect example, my sophomore year. Very first game we played against Yale, which was a tournament team the year before. They brought everyone back. Like they were a really good team. And like I had a bad, like I didn't shoot well that game. Like I shot 4 for 14 from the field. But I still ended up with
16 points.
Yeah, with 16 points. I said like 5 rebounds, like 4 assists, something like that. Like I still had like a really solid stat line, even though I didn't like shoot that well. So I'm like, oh, I'm chilling for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it says right here actually on the website. It said that he had a 16 against them in that game. So
yeah, and then the very next game we played Seton Hall, and I only got 3 shots.
Wow.
The whole game.
Wow.
And so that was just kind of like the story of my season. It was just up and downs at that point because now that you're not like one of the like guys that's you fully utilized,
yeah,
you're kind of now just floating. So then previously I had kind of like had coaches like set up play like call plays out that I know. So then like I know like what to go in. I like know where to attack from and score from because we've gone through this play a whole bunch of times. But then now going back to my like role playing role, I kind of didn't have that same mentality. So it was just like it was a transition for me to learn, and then that's kind of just been the same thing that's been going on like last couple of years just in basketball.
Sure. Yeah,
just because I've always been a team player. Like I literally make myself cringe by like taking bad shots sometimes. Like if I know that I missed someone that was open and I took like a tough shot and missed it, I like get like angry at myself.
Yeah,
because like I just feel so selfish.
It's like you feel like you had a better opportunity and you just like took it.
Exactly. So now and then so now take that mindset and put it into someone that doesn't have the ball in their hands a lot. You're kind of gonna be like, oh
yeah,
you're gonna be super hesitant.
It'll mess with your head.
Yeah, like it'll mess with your head, and that's kind of like what was really going on for me this past season. I kind of just never really felt as if I had like a defined role, and like I didn't have like one particular thing that like I really could do every day. I could do every game. So the one thing I did was just play really hard, just like fly around on defense, like try and just create as many deflections, try and get as many steals, try and get like offensive rebounds, like do all the
trying to find an identity with your game for the team.
Just doing all the hard work and stuff like that.
Okay.
So
yeah, I mean, before I talk about how your time at Bucknell and then coming to Bryant, you mentioned though playing at a lower level, and I saw this clip the other day. It's it's from football, but it was Cam Newton speaking. I think it was at I think Auburn's like pro day or something like that. He was talking in front of a group of kids, and he ended up saying something along the lines of like, "Hey, they'll find you if you want to play at if you want to make it, like you play it, you go to a school where they want you, and like those pro teams, they will find you because like they'll see you putting up numbers versus if you're just going to I think he said like, oh, you're going to Tennessee, Alabama, some of the football powerhouses in the country, and you don't touch the field until your senior year, and you had 2 catches on senior day. Like at the end of the day, it's like you were just chilling out there. Like you being able to have that experience from the jump is incredible for you. Yeah. So take me through once you got to Bucknell, obviously, once the coaches left, you felt your role at Stony Brook kind of diminish. Take me through Bucknell, and then inevitably what had you come to Bryant.
Yeah, so right as I entered the transfer portal, COVID happened. So then once COVID happened, I can't visit any schools or anything like that.
And you had previously visited, or at least talked with Bucknell, correct?
Yeah, so Bucknell was, it was, so coming out of high school, it was either I was going to go to Bucknell or I was going to go to Stony Brook.
Yeah.
So I decided to go to Stony Brook.
Mm-hmm.
But then leaving, Bucknell was one of the first schools that called me. They're like, "Hey, I saw that you're in the transfer portal," and for them, they had two people leaving, Jimmy and Khalil.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the first two transfers that they had in like 8 years or something.
Wow.
So it was like, yeah, like this is like, it's kind of like, it's like a weird opportunity for us to like to get someone that we've been that we were trying to get in high school, that we can get him again now in the transfer portal.
And I mean, like right when that happened with you, I mean, that's kind of when the whole transfer portal thing blew up around sports.
Yeah.
And, essentially just became a, collegiate free agency.
No, honestly, yeah.
Like, I mean, like you guys kind of being able to, essentially control your own destiny, go where you want to go. I'll continue.
Yeah. So because during that next year was when they changed the rule to where you could play at a school immediately and not have to sit out for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Which was, but then they allowed everybody's years to come back for that COVID year.
Yeah.
Which is really good because I got to play.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I left Bucknell was just because it just wasn't a right fit for me.
Yeah.
And I was just in a horrible headspace.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from the year before, I hadn't had a good year basketball wise, but instead of like actually really dealing with it, I kind of just swept it under the rug. I was just like, what? It was a bad year.
Yeah. And that was something that you actually had mentioned on your podcast was, kind of the mental health and everything that happened at Bucknell. You want to kind of talk about that and, how you kind of dealt with that?
Yeah. So I had really bad mental health issues when I was at Bucknell.
Sure.
I had never had like mental health issues really. I'd never been depressed before. Like I'd had like, I don't know, like I guess
sadness, like,
yeah,
like because everyone does have those.
Yeah,
it's part of the human condition. Everyone's going to feel like that kind of sadness at the end of the day. Like, people are going to get down again about certain things, but there is a difference that I think people need to know between just like, being really sad about something and, depression.
Yeah, no, there is a huge difference between just being sad and like being depressed. Like the way I describe it, it's like either two ways. It's like, just imagine like walking in a void, like there's just nothing around you. But whenever you do get a glimpse of something and you try and walk towards it, it just like fades away in front of you. Mm-hmm. So it's like you just feel as if you're just going nowhere. You're doing all this work to get somewhere, but you just end up in the same place you are. And the other way I would describe it is like it makes everything just so difficult. Like it makes like getting out of bed seem like Mount Everest.
Yeah.
Like that's the best way I can just describe it. Is it like to somebody else on the outside, it's just, why don't you just put in a little bit of effort?
Yeah.
To just do it.
But it's not like that when you're stuck
like,
in that loop. It's like
it's not as easy as it's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah.
And for someone that's never been through that before, I didn't really know how to cope with it or handle with it at first.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
like the first couple of months, I was just like, and also I was super hard headed. I was
sure.
I wanted to figure it out myself.
Mm-hmm. What did get? I mean, you did mention on the show that like that mental health in depression, it's not something that just goes away. It's something that you have to kind of work with and try to deal with. But you seem like you're in a better spot now than you were then. How were you able to kind of work with that and get and kind of persevere through a lot of it?
One big help is just like the environment that you're in.
Sure.
And here, like outside of my team, I love like a whole bunch of these people on this campus. Like I love like the fact that this campus is so small. I got to meet I got to meet a lot of people really fast. So just walking, like just going through your day and just like seeing familiar faces and like seeing people that are actually like, hey.
Someone you and if you're walking somewhere, you're gonna run into someone
Yeah. So it's just like, hey, like actually like getting to like talk to people like
and have that sense of community.
Yes, like so you don't feel alone. because that's the biggest thing. Like when you're depressed, it's like you also don't want to put that burden on anybody else to like
Yeah,
really talk about it. So then you just kind of just suffer in silence even more.
sure.
So
So, I mean, once you got, I mean, like the community thing, I didn't really even realize until I truly did come to Bryant. But, take me through the process of, when did Bryant kind of first express interest in you? Like, tell me about like when Grosso and those guys reached out.
yeah, so
Like, and then kind of yeah, I'll let you tell me about that first.
well, so the start of it was Bucknell still. So
Sure.
leaving Bucknell, I was put on academic probation from
Hmm.
Bucknell because of like all my mental health and stuff.
Yeah.
I couldn't even do my homework.
Yeah.
I literally, yeah, that's the reason why I failed out, was because I just didn't do my homework.
Hmm.
Like any assignment that I did do, or like tests and stuff, I did fine. It was just that there was just so many projects and stuff I just didn't do. I would just wait until the last minute, and then I would look and then be like, oh my God, I have to do this much, and just be like, oh no,
Yeah.
nothing. And then so I had to leave in order to actually play, because if I would have stayed at Bucknell,
You
because
would have,
I didn't get kicked out, I was just put on academic probation, so I couldn't play for that next year. I wouldn't have been able to play until the second semester of this season that just happened.
okay.
So I would have had to sat out all of the year before
Jeez.
at Bucknell, and then sat out all of out of conference until the second semester started. So I
Wow.
was just like, yeah,
At that point, yeah, you kind of,
I can't. Like I
yeah.
just can't stay. Um, so then I entered the transfer portal. But because I was put on academic probation, I wasn't eligible for a scholarship for at least one semester.
Okay.
So I was trying to talk to all these different schools to see if I could like take like community college classes at home for the first semester, and then come for the second semester and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And I just couldn't find a home like during the summer. I never found a place that I like actually felt like a good, comfortable,
Good fit.
yeah, a good fit with. Until Coach Cole called me in like September of 2021.
Okay.
He just called me and said, "Hey, I still see you're in the transfer portal. Like, are you at a school or anything?" I was just like, "I'm at the crib chilling right now. I'm not doing anything right now." So
You said to me at that point you didn't know if you were going to play basketball again.
yeah,
Is
I
that correct?
no, for there's like a 2 week period. One of the schools that was in contact with me, St. Francis Brooklyn. I kind of knew that wasn't going to work out,
Yeah.
and then I didn't get any calls. I didn't get any calls for real, or anything like that for the next couple of weeks. Um, and it was literally just out of the blue.
Yeah.
Cat just called. So it was crazy because I really wasn't expecting it. Like I
Yeah.
was like, at that time I was training kids and I was going to community college. I was still trying to figure out like what I was going to do with my life.
Yeah.
If I was going to continue through basketball, if I wanted to do something else. And then Kat called me and then had me come up on a visit. I think beginning of September. And then after that visit, I kind of knew, I was like, if I'm gonna go anywhere, like this is a place that I'm gonna go, because
Hmm.
I got a similar vibe from Gross as I did my high school coach.
Okay.
They kind of like have similar ways. They're both Italians, so they're both pretty crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
It comes with the
yeah,
territory.
yeah, no. So, but uh, so then for the rest, so 2 years ago, the first semester I stayed at home, took my community college classes just to get
Mhm.
my GPA up and to get some more credits, and then I transferred here for the second semester of the year that we won the NEC tournament.
Yeah.
So
So, I mean, take me through that. You get onto campus, you see that group of guys doing, amazing work for the team. To just get onto campus and be a part of, that group, pretty much getting thrown into it. Take me through that. Like, what was that like getting to see just that atmosphere right away?
it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Because the team that team was just like made up of such like different people.
Oh, the personalities on that team were
Yeah.
crazy.
Like,
I mean, you had Peter Kiss doing his thing.
mhm.
You had, and it's weird because like you take the personalities of Pete and Charles, which I mean, you know, they were the 2-star guys on the team at that time. You couldn't probably have two more personality, like type of, you know, in terms of personality, two completely different people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, but you wouldn't be able to tell that by the way that they played out there on the court because their game actually lined up so seamlessly. But
Mhm.
you had them out there. You had Adam Alita, you know, as like kind of the 3-and-D guy for that team. You had Hall battling through injury that year. I mean, from what I heard, he barely was able to walk half the time. So,
No, yeah, he was Hall was messed up. Like there
yeah.
would be days that like he's practicing and like he's only doing a couple live and he's like, all right, I got it.
He's like, screw it, I'll just play in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you had Luis too, who was you know, just like the point forward essentially of the team and
Mhm.
was just doing great work. So, I mean, as a fan, getting to watch that team last year was incredible. I mean, like I, you know, the big kind of monkey that they needed to get off their back was Mount St. Mary's, and they were able to do that. You know, kind of took everything, kind of took everything in that game. You know, literally came down to the very last second with Chuck knocking down two free throw, or knocking down the one free throw rather,
Mhm.
to win the game. But yeah, just I mean, what a team last year.
And then the game right after that, Wagner was the
Oh my,
craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
oh my,
No, like seeing a conference championship game, just how it
insane,
unfolded, how it
insane.
like because I had like I've been a part of games like that where you just start beating up on a team so badly for no reason. You're just like,
Like, and because I mean, they should be your equal in that.
yeah, they should be, but then
I thought it was going to be a repeat of the regular season championship where it was like, you know, kind of back and forth. You guys pull ahead at the end. And I thought, you know, frankly, I thought Wagner might have had the better shot because they had dealt with it before, but
mhm,
they just completely fell apart, which
completely fell apart. It was crazy to see.
like, I remember I was watching it and I legitimately, like, I think you guys got up by like 15, 20 points at one point, and it was early. And I was like, this is great. But in my mind, I was like, I've seen these guys play it this year, and like, you know, they are relentless. And I was like, you know, who's to say that, you know, they can't just start a comeback right now?
Mhm.
And once it got to 36-6, I was like, this is actually insane.
No,
What the
like
hell is going on right now?
and
What were you guys saying? What were you guys thinking on the bench? Like, were you guys talking about it? Like, what were you guys like? The hell's gotten into these guys?
so me and Reef, since both of us didn't
Yeah,
play, we're just looking at each other the whole
it's
time.
like what the
Like I
hell's going on?
remember I was sitting like I used to sit in like the last seat, like right
Yeah,
next to like the coach. So I'm at the second to last seat on the bench, and I'm just watching this game like this,
just like
just
in
chilled.
awe.
And every single time something happens, me and Reef just go like this to each other, just we're like, what is
What the
going
hell is
on?
happening? And it wasn't the fact that like I mean, yeah, like you guys were physically just outplaying them, but just the way in certain way and just the way certain shots were getting knocked down. I remember Pete's like over in the corner.
Mhm. Oh my, no, yeah, this one.
Yeah,
And then he just rose up and
where he
shot it.
yeah, where he just like chucks it like off the 1 foot, like awkward fadeaway for the three. Then I remember Ty in the second half throws up the lob from half
Half court
court.
to Pete from
And
half. I'm watching this.
it felt like
I'm
it
like,
felt like I was watching like a YouTube mixtape.
no,
I was
yeah,
like, what the hell's going on right now?
no, and it was
It
crazy.
felt like a Globetrotters game.
And then the fight happened, and
Oh
it's
my
so
god.
and I'm on the bench,
So
just
so
like
let me say this. I've done this before on this show. I've said this before on this show rather. And I remember my perspective of the fight is so if you remember where the fight broke out, it was on that far left side of the bleachers.
yeah,
I was seated kind of in the middle, more towards the right, so kind of near your bench. And I remember when it broke out, what I saw is I turn around and I see the Wagner player. I see I think it was, what was the name of the guard, number 11? Trying to think. Nick Martinez.
yes,
Yeah, I see Martinez getting separated, and I see also Morales kind of you know, kind of moving about. And what I thought had happened at first is you know, they're down big, championship game. What I thought had happened is, oh, they're pissed off at each other and they're fighting each other. That was my first thought when I
yeah,
saw it. I was like, oh wow, like they're kind of like the team's falling apart over there. And then I see, I think it's Morales or Martinez start to make their way into the stands. And I'm like, yo, what is going on? Like this reminds me, Malice at the Palace, like 70s Bruins, like what is going on here? And there was so much just like mystery as to what was going on. I mean, take me through your experience of just being on the court there.
No, yeah. So I I don't even remember what my first initial thought was.
I mean,
I
like,
just remember seeing
did you just hear like a
so
scream or something? Like, what'd you hear?
I just started seeing commotion out the corner
Yeah.
of my eye. I go like this. So Will Martinez,
Oh, Will Martinez.
yeah,
Nick Martinez is someone else. Yeah.
Will
Will
he
Martinez.
played with one of my teammates at Stony Brook. So
Okay.
like I kind of like know him. So then I saw him get off the bench and go. I said they're bugging right now. Like I'm like, yo, my man just left the bench to go like into the crowd.
Dude,
They literally just completely forgot about the game.
No, yeah.
Like it was crazy.
I mean, I think they forgot before they showed up, to be honest with you. But yeah.
And then getting sent into the locker room. We're all in there like we already won. We're all laughing. We're all like just like, what is going on right now?
This is
And, like,
insane.
it is crazy. But I can't even lie.
And
I can't lie.
the weird part about the whole thing going up into it was that I remember when the tickets went on the sale for the game, like we were lined up around the chase, and like I can't believe that they did this, but they had this the time that the tickets went on sale was the same time that Wagner was having their walkthrough practice.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So
I remember that.
so
That was done completely on purpose.
so no, I know. So as they're walking out, they're just getting booed, and in the moment, like they were it almost seemed like they kind of were like, having fun with it. I think it might have been Morales and I think Will Martinez were like they were kind of like, hyping up. They were kind of like trying to like hype up the crowd and make it louder. And it seemed like they were having fun with it. They understood, and it seemed, like kind of playful. I mean, like some of the chants weren't so playful, but
Yeah.
it seemed like, okay, like yeah, they're professionals. They're gonna be whatever with it. And then when it boiled over, we were like, guys, what happened? Like this is insane. But you were talking about, you were mentioning.
Oh no, I was gonna say the fight. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
fight has I've never ever been a part of a game where the two opposing teams fans are on the same side of bleachers. Like that's to me, that's where it all started.
I swear
you can't have us right on top of their fans, especially with the way we're beating their ass.
I swear to God, when I saw that happen, and you know what separated us, right? It was a single string of rope.
Single string.
I was like, I was like, yeah, have you guys heard the chants we've been saying this year? Like, this isn't gonna end well.
Oh.
I mean, I know that my buddy Bill in the Bryant pep band, he told me that the Wagner pep band, like they like destroyed their instruments.
Really?
Yeah. I think they like tried to throw them at people. Like someone tried to throw like a trombone.
What?
Yeah, no. Apparently, they went up and there was a trombone that was like bent in half. I swear, man. I swear,
Going like this.
dude. I mean, it kind of seemed like WrestleMania in there. It was like a steel cage match over there.
Oh, trombone.
I luckily wasn't near it, and like. But I remember I see this girl on the Wagner side. She runs down to their bench to, where like the Powerade bottles or stuff. And she grabs this full bottle and proceeds to throw it across the entire length of the bleachers. So I'm just like standing there watching this all unfold. And then out the corner of my eye, I just see a blue Powerade bottle whiz past my head and just explode in like on like some guy's chest. And I'm like, what the hell's going on over here?
What is going on?
And like, the thing people constantly forget about that fight is like, terrible. The Bryant students who were involved with it, the Wagner students who were involved with it, terrible, like honestly bad, like terrible look for both universities, 100%. What people don't see though is the fact that when everyone else realized what was going on, the Bryant students, we all sat down. We were like, we don't want to be a part of this. This was like, it got crazy quick.
Yeah. But like, I can't even describe what being actually a part of that, seeing it live was like. It's because that is something that you see on the internet that like we're so numb to it now, seeing it on a phone screen, but actually seeing it happen in person is like, it is crazy.
Yeah, it's weird being present at being somewhere and just being like, Yeah, this is gonna go viral.
Like this is
this
not
this
for
is
all the wrong
yeah
reasons.
this is gonna be trending tonight.
For not
Uh,
good reasons.
I remember literally going onto Twitter and just seeing Bryant as like the
No,
leading
yeah,
thing. I was like, oh boy. That was some crazy stuff, man. I mean,
yeah.
there were like cop cars, everything lined up outside. Like, how did you guys just like? I mean, you told me you guys were in the locker room having a great time, but like,
Yeah, we were.
so like when you guys found out you were coming back out to play, what was like the whole idea behind it? Was it just like, hey, don't start anything, don't start anything?
Yeah,
Like did Grasso and those guys tell you about like what to do in that
I mean,
situation?
yeah, I mean the coaches, but like we told ourselves, like we already knew what was going on, and
Exactly.
so we were just like just finish the game, finish off right. Like we already won. Like we already won. We did what we wanted to do.
Mhm.
So it was just about just finishing off right. And yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys won the game. You got to experience Selection Sunday, which was really cool. So you guys got to experience that, got to go to Wright State. Unfortunately things didn't pan out there, but was still an incredible run nonetheless. One of the best runs. Well, it was the best run in this school's history. I know coming into this year, you getting the opportunity to play this year. We kind of talked on your podcast about maybe some of the things that this team kind of struggled with this year, kind of just not being able to maybe gel all the way.
Yeah.
You want to talk about this season? Like, what was your kind of takeaways? I think you guys started off incredibly strong. I mean, being able to go into the Carrier Dome in Syracuse close to Thanksgiving and knock off Jim Boeheim and those guys, insane. So, like, take me through that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Whereas like at the beginning of the year, we were like we had a different type of mojo and swag to us.
Yeah,
because all of us have come from higher up programs.
Yeah, and it kind of felt like kind of just like a super team coming in, and you guys had that just mentality of like, hey, we're gonna come in, we're gonna do our thing.
Yeah, and that's all that
you're coming back to the America East, doing your thing.
Yeah,
there.
like that's what we all believed. Like it was like none of us should be like playing at this level, like in terms of like on paper, in terms of like where we went to high school and all of this.
Sure.
So it's just the way that, especially now with college, with the way that people transfer, it's just the way it is sometimes, that you're going to have like older teams that are stacked at the mid-major. But as we've seen, teams like FAU go into the Final Four. It's
insane.
It's crazy now because basketball is completely different. So all of us are like, we can compete against all the best teams because we're some of the best players too.
Absolutely.
But for me, what I think like derailed our season was losing to Brown at home. Because the game before that, so we had beat Cuse at Cuse,
and then you had Framingham State.
Yeah, the next game
that was it. I think I tweeted out. I just go, if you're Framingham State, I would pray to God right now.
Yeah,
like having a D3 immediately after that. That was
the worst thing possible for us because we played horribly that game, but still beat them by like 35.
Yeah.
But like we played horribly. Like we didn't start off the game right. Like we weren't moving the ball well. But they're just a lower level, so like they're just not as
the skill was just not going to match up. It was going to be a W either way.
So then that kind of gave us false hope because we just beat Cuse and then we just beat this other team at home. Mm-hmm. So then now we're like, all right, and then Brown. We play pickup against Brown during the summer and stuff all the time, and we whoop them because it's just pickup, like it's not organized basketball. Uh-huh. So then from like from the summer of just always playing against them, I guess they just had like a really big chip on their shoulder playing us. So then when they came in and smacked us in the mouth, and then we're all kind of just sitting at each other looking like,
what the hell just happened?
Yeah, like what the hell just happened? Like. And then
you have these Ivy League schmucks come in here. Like, what's going on?
And then after that, that's when that was definitely when our season derailed, because right after that was when the whole thing with Kayvon happened.
Oh man,
when we got to Cincinnati.
I mean,
and that
Kayvon
messed us up.
I felt so bad for Kayvon this year. He had one of the toughest breaks I think I've ever seen for a player. To go through what he went through. So what was it? Just like a really bad case of the flu? Like what happened?
It was yeah, like he had the flu, but it was just he had so much mucus in his lungs
Yeah.
just from buildup of being sick
Mhm.
that there was so much fluid in his lungs that blood started to get into his lungs. So then he just went into shock.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
That's insane. And then he has the knee injury down.
yeah, down at UMBC. But that
I mean,
because
I could at that moment I thought his season was over. I thought he tore his ACL. I
yeah,
saw it on video. I was like, and like, I remember I was working the women's game because when you guys are away, the women are home playing, and I'm working the game on camera. Because as you've seen me, and I think it was Nick. It was either Nick or Max, and they walk over and they ended up saying like Kayvon just tore his ACL. I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, look at the video. I was like, oh my god. And to see him come back and be out there was incredible. I was like,
yeah,
it was a miracle to see him back out there.
yeah,
But yeah, so obviously season this year, you guys ended up going home against UNH, but you have a lot of returning players for this next season, which in this age of college basketball is rare, not just with it being the fact that one and dones are the thing, but like you said, the transfer portal guys leave left and right. So you guys have a lot of returning players coming back next year. It looks like you have a good transfer class on the way. So, take me through some of the expectations for you for next year. I know you had mentioned, because you guys have actually worked together now, you kind of know your guys' limits a little bit more and probably will, work to push each other more this off
yeah.
season.
Definitely. We also were a little too nice to each other last year.
Okay.
We're
You all like each
like
other.
we're all really close. Like
Yeah.
super close. Like all we do is hang out with each other, and like we've all like especially like me, Reef, and Earl, we've all known each other for like the longest amount of time. So now that we've incorporated like everybody else in the team and like we're all like a really big group,
Mhm.
we were kind of scared to like say something to somebody because of how they might react.
Sure.
Um so days where we just didn't have that good of a practice, instead of like halfway through that practice like really bringing each other in and be like, yo, come on, like
Let's get this thing together.
yeah, we would just let that day kind of happen. And it's it's hard to win a championship. and
Extremely.
and and even though
At any level, it's
like
difficult.
we finished sixth, which looks bad, but
But
we were tied for fourth.
yeah, and
And
you guys were like the third team at one point. It was just the UMaine game and whatnot, kind of just like seating wise, like frankly, like the America East in any conference, like it as long as you get there, you have a shot.
yeah,
Like it doesn't matter the seating. Like, I mean, the number one seed is the coveted thing. People like it because you're guaranteed, home field advantage or home court advantage throughout the entire playoff. But if you don't take care of business, it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
it
So
does not matter.
you guys as the sixth seed can make a run. That's something that's possible and is on the table. So as long as you get there, I think that a team like you guys, you always have a shot. You guys can always make a bid in that. I think that you guys could easily, take the America East next year. I think that you guys have the squad to do it. I mean, you proved it against Vermont. You were able to match up against them. I think the final score is they only ended up winning by like 4 points.
Yeah.
So I mean,
if I had a 3 at the end of the game to either tie it or like go up by 1 with less than 2 minutes to go.
okay.
Like we had
So yeah, you guys have opportunities, and I think
right there.
you guys can play with those guys. Like
Mhm.
you guys can play with those guys. So it's just a matter of getting that out of you guys, and I think that really good things could come next year. So, for you, what are some expectations and some goals that you have for yourself personally next year?
Just be more confident. Like
Yeah.
like what we were talking about. When I when it was during COVID,
Mhm.
that was right before I went to Bucknell. That was after I had like my first like bad year of college.
Mhm.
I was still like being able to compete against some of the best players in the world.
Mhm.
A lot of my struggles, it's all mental. It's
Mhm.
all like if I just tell myself I can't do it, like I'm not even gonna try. But if I just go out there and play, who knows what plays I can make because of how talented I am.
Absolutely.
And that's the belief that I have to have in myself. But it's going to be difficult because it's always, your coaches always do have power and control over how much you can play. But I can't think about that aspect of it. I have to just think
You
about
just
it
got to
in
do your
terms of,
job.
Yeah, like I'm gonna play my game, and I'm gonna be good at my game, and however long I'm in the game for is however long I'm in the game for. So
Absolutely.
like you can't you can't please your coaches because they're just gonna use you for how they best see you when they might put you in a position that's not why you got to this level. Like just because I'm good at like kind of like a lot of things doesn't mean that one of the things that I'm like not that good at, you can just force me to do throughout like a whole game.
Mhm.
So
All right. Well, Miles, I know you got to run to practice really soon.
yeah.
Before you go, so just what do you got going on with the hand right now? What's the timetable on that?
So in my podcast, I had a cast on.
Yeah.
I just got this off on Wednesday. So like 3 weeks of just like stretching and stuff.
And what is it again for the people that haven't seen your show yet?
It's a torn ligament in my thumb and my middle finger.
Okay.
So like learning from like the hand specialist and stuff. So like when I try to fully extend my finger when it's up like this,
Yeah.
I can just feel a lot of tension,
Mhm.
but it's tension caused from this knuckle that's
Okay.
like causing excess strain. So if you keep your knuckle relaxed and then from here you can now straighten your finger out, and it's just like all different
Huh.
types of exercises that you can do to like fully regain like full mobility and strength. So that's for like the next 3 weeks, and then that's when I can get into like grip strength training for 3 more weeks. So like 6 weeks until I'm like fully back.
Good stuff. All right. Well, Miles, we are officially down to the wire, so we're gonna wrap up this episode and send you guys on your way. Miles Latimer, member of the Bryant men's basketball team. Thank you again for stopping in. Really do appreciate it. So
Thank you, man. I really do appreciate you. You're one of my favorite people here,
absolutely,
definitely.
man.
And I definitely want to have you on for another one of my podcasts, please.
100%, dude. I mean, I'd love to have you back on this show too to talk some ball, talk whatever you want.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I could talk about some other sports, you know. So yeah, since I was telling you like F1 and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I meant to discuss that. You're a big cars guy. We'll save that for another episode. I know that's something that was something we kind of teased on your own show. So
Okay.
Miles is really into cars, Formula One, all that stuff. If you want to hear him talk about that, because you know a lot. You know a lot about cars and all that stuff, which was very surprising to me. I did
Yeah.
not know that was an interest of yours. But if you want to hear a little bit more about that, tune into Miles's podcast. It's not up yet, but it's the Collective Mindset podcast, Collective Mindset, just to get it right. It's going to be on what, Spotify?
Uh, MG and I are still deciding with the first podcast being like not that good of like video.
Sure.
We might put the first one on Spotify, but
Okay.
we're definitely gonna try to do Spotify and
YouTube
and YouTube, so we can have a video along with it as well.
Nice. All right. If you want to, is there a way that people can maybe get updates on that? Maybe your Instagram?
Yeah. My Instagram is miles.latimer. I'm definitely gonna keep on posting updates, different questionnaires and things like that. Just keep the ball rolling for the podcast.
Awesome. Good stuff. All right. Well, if you're not following Down to the Wire at this point, make sure you guys go follow us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you guys get your streaming. We're also available on YouTube, and you can get any updates on our Instagram page at down.tothewire. Again, at down.tothewire on the IG. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. You've been listening to WJMF 88.7 HD2 Smithfield, Providence. I'm Brian Costa.
I'm Miles Latimer.
And we hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care and peace out.